Welcome to the Jeff Knows Inc. Entrepreneurial Show with your host, Jeff Lopes.
We are live. We are live. Today we have a special guest, Ray Cash Care, former Navy SEAL veteran, entrepreneur, motivational speaker, all-around amazing person. Ray, say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody. How you doing? And thanks for having me on, brother. I'm excited.
Very excited to have you, buddy. We always start off our podcast with just getting to know the guest and just get a little background of who you are right now, what you're currently doing, and then we'll just take it from there, buddy.
Yeah, Ray Cash Care, 48 years young. Like you said, former Navy SEAL, worked for years. And then I decided to take the plunge and jump into the entrepreneurial world. I guess I use that word very cautiously. Working with, I'm a peak performance coach / accountability coach. And then I travel the country with a gentleman by the name of Steve Eckert, who's he's a 7-figure entrepreneur. He's a little ahead of me. Another vet, United States Marine. And we go around, it's called LTD, Leadership Team Development Training. And we work with companies on the 4 pillars of success, which are teamwork, problem solving, leadership, and communication. And then we infuse that with what I have tattooed on my hand, which is the 4 F-bombs: family, fitness, finance, and faith. And what we do is we've made this collision of knowledge where we go from the battlefield to the business field, but then we shift fire and we incorporate the home field too, because what we've noticed is that when a lot of entrepreneurs come to work or they're having an off day, it's either because they're having problems at work with the teamwork, problem solving, leadership, and communication, and or when they're home or in their personal life, it's something it involves their family, fitness, finance, and faith. So between that, I teamed up with, like I said, Steve, and then obviously Bedros Keuilian, the entrepreneur of entrepreneurs, CEO and founder of Fit Body Bootcamp, 800 gyms, you name it, he does it. We came up with a course called The Project, which is a 75-hour fully immersive. I want to say I call it violence of action, because what we've done is we have 5 instructors from the Navy SEAL, the business entrepreneur, Steve the Marine. We have a decorated SWAT officer, and we have an MMA fighter who are all 7-figure entrepreneurs. And we teach men. This is for men only. We put them through 75 hours of hell, but we teach them, we break them down, build them back up while teaching them how to make money and better themselves. So it's amazing. And I mean, before all of this pandemic started, we were turning and burning, and now we've had to shift focus to more, obviously, because that's what entrepreneurs do. We shift focus.
100%, brother.
And we adapt to times. Yeah, we adapt. So now we're doing virtual training.
Yeah,
you see the air quotes, virtual training,
which is the new norm, if you want to call it at this point.
And I'm loving life. So that's me in a nutshell right now. And I've finally found my niche, and I love it.
So there's a lot of you in a nutshell. So I'm going to break it up a little bit. There's a whole bunch of things I want to talk to you about today. They're not going to be in any particular order. I'm just going to start shooting shit and let's just flow with it. Okay. Nickname Cash. Where'd you get that?
Sorry. Someone just asked me that. So my last name is Care.
Yes.
And I have been Care Bear forever.
Bear. Okay.
Care Bear, because that's what I was in the SEAL teams and growing up. When I shifted, when I first.
Okay, let's get back there quickly. Where did Care Bear come from? Because you think Care Bear being cuddly, and when people check your bio, you're very muscular, big dude. So Care Bear.
Well, there were different Care Bears. There was like Grumpy Care Bear, and there was Rainbow.
Which were you?
They used to call me Savage Care Bear.
Okay, that suits it a little bit more.
And when I shifted focus and started working for that overseas 3-letter agency, I showed up and they were like, "What's your call sign?" And I said, "Well, it's Care Bear." And they said, "Well, you can't have that. There's a lady that works admin that has that." So my first initial reaction was I literally went, shit. I didn't know what to do. And what makes the story so funny is obviously when you transition out of the military into, the government sector, you're nervous. I had a wife, had a child. My son was young at the time. And
how old was your son at the time?
What was he, 13? 13.
So it's going to high school soon.
He's 26 now. I'd have to do the math. He's older.
Yeah. Okay.
But mom was a stay-at-home mom that. That's one of my non-negotiables. And the kids went to a certain type of school, but I went from steady income to taking a chance. Well, long story short, I was like, well, I don't know what to call myself. And I was there with my team. It was a couple SEALs and a couple other guys. And they said, we'll just call you Cash. And I couldn't figure it out. About 4 hours later after they did it, I looked down and I had a Cash shirt on, but I hadn't slept in days because I was so nervous. But I'm a big Johnny Cash fan, pre-Joaquin Phoenix, like real Johnny Cash fan. Yeah. And that's how I got it. I wish it was something sexier. Everybody's expecting this real, and people laugh.
It's a good story. Everything has a story, man. Everything has a story.
Call signs have to be given though. Like, Care Bear was given to me, but that was the thing. And I've given a few out myself to some guys that I worked with. So, and it can happen in the most crazy times, it's just like, and it's stuck. So that's what I'm going with now.
That's awesome. Let's get back and look at Ray as a 10-year-old teenager, 10-year-old going into his teens. Like, did you have a passion to get into the military? Was this something that was it a family line? It's just something you did? Like, how did we get into the military? Let's start with that.
Well, here's another, I'm pretty much a Jerry Springer
byproduct.
Okay. So I grew up, a little backstory. My father was murdered when I was 11.
Oh, wow, okay.
My parents were divorced since I can remember. Lived with my dad. He was a very violent man. We'll just leave it at that. Bad temper because of a motorcycle accident he had before. He had air that got into his brain, so he would lose his mind, and very abusive. And then after he died, I had got a crash course. I had to go live with my mom, who had never really raised me.
How old were you at this point, roughly?
11.
Oh, you're a baby still. Yeah.
So I was angry, getting in a lot of trouble, moved from one part of the city to another part of the city, got in a lot of fights.
Where'd you grow up in? What city?
I grew up in Dundalk, Maryland, which is like white trash capital of Baltimore. Like they talk like, "Hi, hun, want to go to the BOPOC?" And it's crazy.
You're awesome.
To Reisterstown, Maryland, which I didn't live. I remember I lived on 72 Hewing Drive. It wasn't a great neighborhood. Got in a lot of fights. Went to a public school, not a good school. Got in a lot of fights. And then as I was getting older, I started going. Graduated high school, big into sports. But I really didn't take my academics serious. Went to a community college. And I started going down the path of my father. I was drinking. I was very aggressive, doing some drugs, getting in trouble, getting locked up, not like jail time, but like, getting put in the tank for stupid stuff. And then one night, it's funny because Jason Redman is one of my best friends, and he talks about getting off the X and life ambushes. Well, I talk about people getting mortared, incoming fire. They take these explosive impact hits. First one, obviously, is when my father died. The second one was, probably trying to shift focus and live with a mom who really just wasn't ready for that. And then the third was I was about 19 years old, and I came home from a bar, underage drinking, driving my car, drunk and on something. And I looked in the mirror, probably like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. When I looked in the mirror, it was the weirdest thing. I'm all about my coaching that I do now, self-reflection drills. And it all stems from this. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see me. I saw my father. And right then and there, I decided no more drinking. It was like, like the Joel Osteen, when you praise, it was
a light switch hit.
I decided that I needed change. And I decided that if I didn't make that conscious change, that I was probably going to go to jail. Like I was doing some stupid things, not like stealing or anything illegal, but drinking. I was drinking under the influence daily, was doing construction, just hanging out with older people that had no business being with. And I went into the recruiters and said, hey, well, I had to take the ASVAB test, which I bombed, which is a vocational aptitude test, which places you where you need to be in the military. Originally I went for Air Force, and they were like, no. I knew enough that from movies, I didn't want to go Army or Marine. No offense to my fellow branch services. And then there was the Navy. So when I went in, they said, you can be a medic or you can be a barber. And I was like, what? And I didn't want to do either of those. So I asked what my options were. I told him I wanted to be a Navy SEAL because I read a book. And the recruiter said, "You're too small."
How old were you at this time?
That was when I was 19.
19, okay.
19. I just looked in there and said, no more of this. So I joined the Navy. I didn't even have the grades to become a SEAL. I had to take the ASVAB 2 more times. Second time I took the ASVAB, I actually missed it by 1 point. You need a combined score and a mathematical score. And, if a train's going 80 miles an hour east and one's going 70 miles an hour west, when are they going to collide? And I was like, I don't know. I've never been on a train before. So I had to self-teach, self-educate. Took it again, didn't happen. Everybody, mom, friends said, listen, you're not meant to be a Navy SEAL. It's never going to happen. Again, that's where I kind of started developing the conquer/attack the hill mindset, where I was like, okay, I'm not going to let people dictate who I am or who I can be. So I asked for some external help, just like, there's 2 types of motivation, internal and external. I just used that for education. I asked, his name was Wyan Coughlin, I'll never forget him, to help me. And after working, 8 or 10 hours in the military, I would go to courses in the evening, and I just learned. And the funniest, and I think the biggest learning point I ever got in my life, I think I was 21 at the time, 21, 22, because I didn't go through BUD/S until I almost turned 23, was when Petty Officer Coughlin, I had to stand in front of him the 3rd time, and he's, I'm not looking at you on purpose. And he goes, he's writing, and I'm just kind of standing there at attention. I am a E2 in the Navy. He's an E6. And he goes, how do you think you did? I'm nervous. This is like, 2 years after I get there. So I'm 21. And I said, I don't know. He goes, well, you passed. Like, without even looking at me, he just looked up at me. And this is where the learning point came. I said, I'm excited, try not to act too excited. He goes, how do you think you did? I said, well, how did I do? How did I place? And that's when he stopped and he goes, does it matter? I didn't understand what he meant at the time. And I was like, well, yeah, I want to know if my hard work paid off. And he goes, it did. You passed. And I still didn't get it. And then finally, like, as I left, it set in as what he told me like years later, because he actually came to my graduation, is he goes, it doesn't matter if you got the minimum or you maxed it out. You had the tools. You did what it took to get to the gate. And then what happens is you graduated BUD/S and you open the gate. And I think what that did, the struggle is the story, not me being a Navy SEAL, not me being an entrepreneur now, not me being on TV and movies. It's the struggle. Like, I don't think that would have happened without my father dying, without having the resistance and all the negativity from my mom and my friends, because I think it helped me develop my attack the hill mindset. And that's where I came up with, it hit me. I had an epiphany about 2 years ago. I went on a speaking stage with obviously Brent Clothier, Dan Flashman. These are huge entrepreneurs. Billy Jean Advertising, the guy who does all the advertising, the marketing, Bedros Cooling, and the list goes on and on. Jason Redman. I went on the stage with some of the most illustrious people. I mean, the CEO of Quest Bar, Tom, and guys that are worth billions of dollars, and this dumb Irish kid standing up there. And everybody goes into like this 10-minute speech of what they do. And I went up there and said, this is what I said. And I had to clear it with Bedros. And I was like, listen, it said, Ray Cash Care, former Navy SEAL. I said, it doesn't matter what I've done. Let me tell you who I am and how I got here. And then like everybody kind of looked at me. And then I went one step farther and I was like, what does everybody think I do? And they're like, motivational speaker, inspirational speaker, peak performance coach. And they just kept coming up with this stuff, fitness expert. And I went, wrong. I just yelled at everybody. I said, they said, well, what are you? I said, I am a pain coach. And literally it was just like crickets. And I was like, oh God. So I said, but let me explain. I said, and I just said by show of hands, because I'm a very hands-on type of guy. I said, who here, just raise your hand and keep it up, has ever had physical pain, right? Some people raise their hand, right? Obviously. Emotional pain, social pains, spiritual pain, as in spiritual is pain about believing in yourself, doubt. And then I said, maybe even been sexually, molested or had issues with that. So literally out of a room of like 1,000 people, I say, okay, now guys, put your hands down. Now the people that didn't raise your hands, stand up so I could see. And not one person stood up. I said, okay, so here's what I'm in the business of. I said, you guys ready? And I said, write this down. I said, this is my equation. Pain equals growth. Growth equals power. Power equals knowledge. And knowledge equals profit. So literally everybody's just sitting there. I said, so what I've learned how to do is profit off of pain. Still dead silence. I said, but let's break it down even more. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm in a room. Everybody in there is 6 figures and up. I said, okay, but here's the difference. When you think of profit and you think of success, what does everybody think of? And everybody screams, money. I said, you're all a bunch of idiots.
I love it.
And they go, what do you mean? I said, I'm an entrepreneur. My job is to gain wealth. Physical, mental, emotional, social, spiritual. I don't think you can gain from that sexual standpoint, but you can gain clarity. So what I try to do is I try to make people wealthier from the inside out. And what's so unique, why I go on these speaking tours, like I'm the one that goes up there and I speak to some of the biggest entrepreneurs in the world. I mean, Tony Robbins has listened to me and I'm like, listen, my job isn't to make you money. That's what all these other guys do. I mean, I'm in the back getting business tips and making all this money. That's great. But most of these people, what they do is they have these great lives. They're entrepreneurs. And what I do is, remember we talked about that self-reflection drill that I do?
Yeah.
The first thing I do with my coaching clients, I mean, I have coaching clients from underprivileged kids that I do for free all the way up to like, I've got 6 NFL players. I've got a couple Fortune 500 CEOs that I help with. And I go, okay, my 4 non-negotiables, right? I have the word conquer. Each letter stands for something. We don't need to get into all that, but the N is the non-negotiables. And those non-negotiables are those 4 F-bombs: family, fitness, finance, and faith. So what I make everybody do then is I say, okay, you understand my equation of profit? Yes. Can I get a hoo-yah? Everybody yells, hoo-yah. Then I make everybody stand up. And usually by this time, there's a few SEALs. I make all the SEALs come up on stage and I go, okay, everybody, we're going to get a group shot of all the Navy SEALs here. So everybody stands up and they get excited and they hold the cameras up. So they're holding the cameras up. I said, you got it on us? And they're like, yes. I said, I'm going to do a 3, 2, 1. And I want you guys all to take a picture. Turn your flashes on. 3, 2, stop. Everybody stops and like, what? I'm like, turn the camera around. Just hit the switch button, the rotate. Here's what I want you to do now. And everybody's confused. I want you to take a picture of yourself right now. And if you've ever had any physical, emotional, social, spiritual, or had sexual pain in your life, remember that. But what I want you to do right now is remember those 4 non-negotiables we talked about: family, fitness, finance, and faith. I want you to snap that picture. As soon as we're done with this, I want you to find 2 or 3 minutes alone. And I want you to go look in that mirror like I did when I was 19. And I want you to grade yourself on those 4 F-bombs. And I went to public school. Family. I'll give you an example, sir. Are you a father?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. I have 2 children, 14 and 12.
Are you a husband?
Yes.
You're a son. You could be a cousin. You could be a brother. You could be something. Grade yourself on all avenues of what family means to you. Fitness. Do you take care of yourself? Do you go to the doctor? Do you have any type of history of people with, and I just break this down and I make people grade themselves. I'm like, listen, wherever you're deficient, wherever you don't have an A+ in, which should be every category, then you know what you need to do to focus on being better. Because see, here's what I've learned. You cannot be a great entrepreneur. You cannot conquer anything until you conquer yourself. Like I went about it for the first 2 years wrong. I kept going like, oh my God, I want to be like this guy. And I want to be like this guy. And I want to be like this guy. But what I tell people is if you want to be like those people, you've got to get your shit squared away first. I know I try not to cuss on an entrepreneur thing, but it's that simple.
Yeah.
And if you're at the top of your game or at the bottom of your game, if you're a CEO of a company, right? Okay. I come in and I work for you and I'm having an issue. Literally, you can sum it up with eight things. Okay. Is it job related or personal, right? Stay with me. And I could pick whatever. Let's say it's job related. Okay. Is it teamwork, problem solving, leadership, or communication? Are you having problems? It can only be in those 4 areas. All right. As in like teamwork, that could be, sexual harassment things that'll fall under there, but if there's an issue. No? Okay. Well, then if you're having problems coming through the door, is it your family, fitness, finance, and faith? What are you having issues with? And usually as an entrepreneur, obviously if you have a team under you, I've learned that the quicker that you eliminate those issues, you develop a relationship. Like I've got 6 people that work under me. I literally, once we get on the phone, especially with this pandemic now, we're on the phone every day, real quick. Hey guys, this is what I say. How we doing? Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Is there any issues on the work side? Yes or no? And Lily, it's just open forum. Okay, let's fix it. How's everybody doing with their family? Family, fitness, finance, and faith. If you guys are having any problems, hit me up afterwards. So let me know, right? Family, somebody that you love or something you're arguing, you and your wife aren't, copacetic, you're having an issue with a kid. Who knows? Fitness. You or someone, fitness isn't this, it's inside out. You or someone that you love is not doing well. They could be sick. They could have the COVID-19. They could have this. Finance. Well, right now, during this pandemic, this is what I'll tell you. If you haven't shifted your focus of fire as an entrepreneur and went to virtual,
100%. Everything's been modified. Everything's been changed.
It is.
And who hasn't? This is why all the small businesses in North America are slowly closing their doors.
Exactly.
People are not adjusting with the times, right?
And then the faith, due to lack of money, due to maybe arguing with your family, due to, hey, I'm caged up and maybe I'm not believing in myself. So, and as an entrepreneur, your job is to, depending if you have people under you or not, I tell you, you are the CEO of yourself. So whether I have people that are new, I have people that are old, I tell each one of them, listen, you're the CEO of this company, and this company is you. And the only way that we're going to create like the best entrepreneurs, the best teams that you can have, I love that word team, is I developed when I speak, and I'll give you the secret. Here's I have the conquer each. I love acronyms.
Yeah.
Because acronyms stick. So conquer, each letter stands for something. That's my 7 points of performance to master you. They're little daily drills that you have to do. Just like if you want to shoot a gun, you have to have the 7 points of performance. Ray, I've never shot a gun. Okay. To bake a cake, you need ingredients. I'm giving you the ingredients to be the best version of you. Then you can make the modifications from that. Now, entrepreneur, right? Let's talk business. Whether it's you or you have 1 to 1 million people that work with you or under you, right? Team. It's not together everybody accomplishes more. It's not. It's this simple. And this is what I get paid a lot of money to do when I go to companies. If you want your team to be successful, right? Let's say I have 3 people under me, all right? You write the word team, T-E-A-M. What does team mean? It means trust. That's it. Trust. You have to trust in yourself, trust in each other, and know that each other's got their backs. And here's the thing. We use this in the SEAL teams, right? You have to have trust. When you make mistakes on the battlefield, some people may not come home. Do you agree?
100%.
Okay, so that could be because of this, but you know what else? I don't have this is a weapon too. This pen is an entrepreneur. This is a very deadly pen. This mind is a very deadly weapon, because if you make mistakes as an entrepreneur, people may not die, but you may financially kill them. You may emotionally kill them. You may spiritually kill them. So I actually think there's really no difference. And what I tell people is, well, we're going to get to the rest of them, team. There's a SEAL team, which the abbreviations is S team, and you're also an ST. You're a success team. So what I do is I teach people that, hey, maybe you're not a Navy SEAL, but let's make you the Navy SEAL, that tier 1 operator of everything that you do in your life, from the battlefield to the business field to the home field. E, it's effort. All right. You have 12 employees. Listen, guys, and this is where I don't agree with people. Everybody says, I need 100% of effort. Who came up with 100? I don't get that. Our grading system is off of 100. My daughter has taken tests where she's gotten extra credit, and I came up with this. I don't want 100% of what you have. I want all of what you are able to give me. Because here's the thing.
I love that. That's an amazing mindset.
People, like, what's so great about a team is you feed off of each other's strengths and weaknesses. So you may be better at something and I may be better at something, but if everybody is running on, And here's what you need to understand. Let's break it down like cars. Let's say you have 4 employees, right, that work under you, Jeff. You may have a couple 10 cylinders running. You may have a couple 8 cylinders. You may have a couple 6. You may have a couple 4 cylinders. But just because the one car is running faster doesn't mean he's putting out more. It just means he's got a bigger engine. He's got a meaning he has more knowledge. So my point is you 4 cylinders are going to be wound out, but eventually you're going to catch up. So I never tell my team, listen, I need 100%. I need 110%. I want 1,000. I tell them, give me all you got. Just give me all you got. Okay, because here's what I'll tell you. Business, I'm going to give you
that could be some of the best advice you've given today.
Well, and here's
for
the
our
thing.
listeners, it's a different mindset, because everybody has that same mindset, Ray, is where you say that, whether it's a sport, whether you're a coach, whether give me 110%, give me it's movies. It's just that mindset always, and it's not give me everything you have. It's give me everything. It's always that number. So people don't understand that number. They're trying to achieve something they don't really understand.
Well, here you go. Harvard Business Study. When I do this and I go around with LTD, I tell CEOs this, and I'll get into this and I'll break it down. It's amazing. Effort. Average person in America goes to work and they give 40% of what they are considered their maximum effort. So you have 20 employees that give 40% on average of their maximum effort, right? I actually have a drill with LTD where we have 20 employees. You're the CEO. I have them face off 10 to 10. Here's the deal. We're cutting budgets. I only have room for 10 people. So this is what I'm going to tell you. You ready? As a CEO, I'm going to cut my workforce in half. I'm going to ask you to double your workforce. Give me 80%. I'm not asking for 100. I'm asking for 80%. I am going to save money because I'm cutting the workforce in half. I'm going to give you a raise, and in return, I'm going to have more money to put back in the company. Does that sound like an idea? And when I do that, people are like, yeah, but what do I have to do? It doesn't matter what you have to do. You're going to do whatever I tell you. And I have a hat. I put a hat in here with drills. Well, I can't do this. I can't do that. Like, it could be a push-up. It doesn't matter. Your job, if you want to be a part of that team, is to do whatever it takes to win. And I have done physical activities where I create what's called a sense of urgency, where I've had a 60-year-old man do leg lifts, hold his legs at 6 inches, which has nothing to do with business, but it has everything to do with business, because business, you have growing pains and you have to break barriers. And literally what I did is I got so sadistic with him. I said, what's your why? He goes, what do you mean, what's my why? What is your reason for living? My grandkids. Okay. So he went up against someone that was half his age who really had no whys yet. And I whispered in his ear, this is how crazy I get. If you don't do this, if you don't beat this person, you're never going to see your grandkids again. And his face changed real quick. He's like, what's wrong with you? I said, I'll use that mindset with everything you do when you go to work. And he actually held it. Not only did he beat the guy, he went longer than everybody else in the course, he was the oldest gentleman there. And my point is people go, that's extreme. That's not extreme. That's how you break barriers. You have to create a sense of urgency with people, and you have to make people realize that they have so much more potential physically, mentally, emotionally, socially, spiritually than they have to put in the company. Now, so that was the effort, right? 40%. Let's cut the workforce in half. Give them a quarter. Let's give them, we'll give them a 0.25% raise. They'd love it. Hey, we'll give you a 20% raise, and I'm still making more money. I've just saved the world's problems. Now, A is attitude. Attitude, right? I get on the phone every day, and I am a horrible closer. Like, I don't, you have a script, if anybody does cold calls, you've got your warm calls. And literally, I'll give you an example. And since Monday, I have closed an $8,000 deal. And this will be the 3rd podcast I'm on. And I work with a group of entrepreneurs that make 7 and 8 figures, minus what they normally do with the business that we do with the LTD and the project. I have made more money than the other instructors. And one of them is an entrepreneur, empire builder, Bedros, because attitude is everything. Like, I can get on and close a deal because I am so passionate about what I do. Like, I've actually had people go, you're not reading from a script, are you? I'm like, I don't believe in reading in a script. I believe in listening to the person, gathering information from people, and then telling them what I feel they need and why this program works for them or why they need to be doing this. So as an entrepreneur, And that's where the next word comes in. The M is mission. So is the mission money? Is the mission wealth? I don't care what it is. Usually it's money, and I get it. But this is what I'll tell you. If you have everybody firing on those same cylinders, we trust each other, we have 100% effort, great attitude, and we all come on board with the mission, then what's going to happen is you're going to see success from a monetary standpoint and from every other standpoint that we covered. And more so than ever, your team is finally going to, like, you ever see the movie We Were Soldiers, Colonel Hal Moore?
Yes, of course, yes.
I have 6 people that make it a game to see who can be on my Zoom call first. I get on sometimes 30 minutes early and have people waiting there because they're so excited to tell me about what they have. Now, let's talk about your company and what kind of an entrepreneur and CEO you are. So LTD, right? We go in, Steve and I, and we talk about your business. So let's say you have a business in fitness, right? So what I do is I sit down with the CEO or the vice president of the company, and I'll ask them some questions. Like, number 1, all companies should have core values. You shouldn't have more than 3 because it gets confusing, but you should have 3 at a minimum. Honor, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I'll write those down. I'll say, okay, good. Now, then what I'll do is I'll ask them to pull up their last weekly email that they sent out, because everybody, most corporations send out corporate emails, which, just so you know, over 80% of people never read. 80% of their business, their company, do not read that start to finish. Harvard Business Study. Yeah. And then I'll ask them what their different revenue streams are. So if, like, you're in fitness, it could be memberships, it could be apparel, it could be supplementation, anything. Boom, I'll take that. So what I'll do is I'll have everybody sit down. I'll say, okay, guys, does everybody know that the company has core values? They all raise their hand. Write them down verbatim. Put your name on this piece of paper. Good. Then what I want you to do is I want you, you've done the core values. Tell me how many different revenue streams your company has. Write that down underneath that. Boom. And then what I'll say is on the last email that I'm holding right here that you guys read, what was the topic of the general thing? And what I'll do is I'll look at those 3 things with the CEO standing right there. And this is what I've told you. Of 20 people, we usually have over 80%. I'm not making these numbers up. Because we stand up if you got it wrong, sit down if you got it right. So I'll just read them. Core values. And literally CEO reads them. No. So this is what I'll do. I'll look at the CEO and go, okay, so you've got 20 employees and less than 4 of them know all your core values, what your revenue streams are, right? Your different revenue streams, because 1 doesn't count. And they know what your last email was. So let me get this straight. So you have 4 people that are good communicators, that are great with teamwork, problem solving, leadership, and communication, but you have 16 people that aren't. How is your company a team if this doesn't work? And then we go one step farther and I go, well, whose fault is this? It's not their, is it their fault or your fault? So what we do is we expose weaknesses and deficiencies in companies, because that's a lot of CEOs when they, especially we've done some high powered CEOs. There's 2 different types of leaders in the entrepreneurial world. Do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, do as I do. That's the kind of leader I want.
Yes.
That's leaders. And leaders, Jason Redman, they lead always, they lead themselves, and they lead from the front. That's it. Leaders lead. Yeah. I know, and I do agree that leaders sometimes need to be led, meaning sit back and you've got to trust in your team to lead. You sit back and just you've got to let them grow. But what a lot of leaders do is they get up there, is they get attitudes, right? I know everything. Yeah. And some of the biggest, I worked for Bob Pittman, the founder of MTV, and he was actually pretty cool. But I hung out with some of the CEOs he hung out with, and they were assholes. They were downright. No one had a good idea if it wasn't their idea. How can that, a CEO can only grow so big till he becomes, or she becomes, one dimensional, meaning they're not thinking out of the box. So like what I do with my 6 employees is like, did you see the movie Ford versus Ferrari?
Yeah, 100%.
Henry Ford II, right, said, hey, any person that comes to my office with a great idea, keeps their job. That's what I want. I tell people once a week, I want you to come up with a great idea of how I can help Conquer, how I can help LTD, and how I can help the project make more money so that, we can obviously give bonuses. We can do this, do this, do this.
It's all about communication and trust, right?
Yes, I agree.
One thing we were talking about, you dipped onto, and about entrepreneurs and big CEOs and stuff. And you were saying you were in some meetings and whatnot, and some are just complete a-holes. I'm a strong believer in, if a person has good core values to start with, I don't think money's going to change them.
I don't.
It's almost like the alcoholic that has a reason to drink and hit somebody or be abusive. It's that mindset where if they're a good person to start with and they believe in it, they might get off course because busy lifestyles and whatnot. But I do believe that you're not changing somebody. Money is just allowing them to be who they truly are. Does it make sense?
I agree. And my core values are the same in the battlefield, in the business field, in the home field. They haven't changed.
Yeah.
Everybody has core values. But the thing is like, there's a book out, Jim Collins, Good to Great. I can't remember the author. Is it Jim Collins?
What's it called?
Good to Great.
Good to Great. Okay.
And literally he's talking about, people getting on the bus are your employees, meaning, do you have an employee who's on the wrong seat of the bus? Meaning maybe they're not taught, they don't know what they need to know because they weren't taught the right things. Or do you have an employee who's just completely on the wrong bus? Meaning they're not trainable. They're not a team player. They're not a communicator. They're people that just come in and get their check, because they're the people that you got to get off the bus, and you have to get new people on that bus. Because the thing is that bus, that portal, that symbolism is, your vision. And if you don't have people in the right seats, you don't have the right managers, you don't have the right go-to people, you don't have the right people that have your same, to have that trusted effort, the attitude and mission, then you need to either train them up or you need to kick them off that bus. And that's what a lot of CEOs do, is they wait too long. And I'm not like, slow to hire, quick to fire. I don't believe in that method. I've heard that a lot from a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm slow to hire because I'm very selective, but I'm also slow of training them up. I mean, there's a learning curve, but, and I give a little leeway, but I tell people as a CEO, you have to be firm but fair. But if people aren't meeting, your core values, your standards, because that's the thing. I don't want my employees to meet my standards. I want them to exceed them with everything they do. I mean, I've had times now that I have a team that's so awesome, like on Fridays, I'm telling people, okay, we're done, get off. Because, I don't know if they're doing it for overtime, but I'm like, okay, turn off everything you're doing, and I love that. But that's better than trying to chase people around all day long, especially during this pandemic. Right now, you need people more motivated than ever. Like
100%.
Like for my meetings, I had people when we first started that weren't turning on their video. Why? We're having 9:00 meetings. You should be dressed.
Yeah.
So I told everybody, if you don't, it's just simple. If you're not dressed in the the thing of the day, the outfit of the day, and you don't look presentable, I told them I'll fire you. That's simple.
It's funny you're saying that, Ray. My first podcast I did was 10 points for, I guess, our crisis, our pandemic we're going through. And it's one thing I've done for God since I was a kid, but every single morning you have to, I always say this, make your bed. It's starting with, it's almost like you're starting your day. You're beginning something, but then get changed. Even one thing I preach to everybody is, even if you're working from home, get changed.
I agree.
Feel like you've gone to work. Feel like you've done, build your routine. You need a routine like that. I love that. Yeah. That's a huge part of who I am.
It's called a pattern of life. That's what we teach. Pattern of life. So one of my good friends is Rob O'Neill, the guy that killed Osama bin Laden.
Oh, very cool.
Right. We got on we were talking yesterday, and the way that they did that is he established a pattern of life. Everybody has a daily pattern of life, and you can buy your cell phone, right? I know where people are going to be because cell phone signals go up and they hit towers, so you can track people, and where people were dormant, where they're staying. That's how we get them. Well, guess what? Every morning people get up, and this is what I do with my coaching and stuff, is they have a pattern of life. But a lot of people waste time. See, the trick to making money, the The benefit of making money is it frees up time so that you can do the things that you want to do. I'll give you an example. Bedros Koulian, my boss, when his truck runs low, he has someone fill gas up for him. He has someone wash his car for him. He'll have people get groceries for him. And I'm like, at first I was like, man, Hit's a lazy guy. And he goes, no, it's not lazy. He goes, imagine the time that I'm wasting doing that. I can sit in this office and make more money and create more leads and create more this. And he went on and on. And I was like, oh my God, I get it.
Yeah.
Like my wife, right? She's a stay-at-home mom and she does all this stuff. And we have a pretty big house. And Bedros was like, he broke it down for me. And this is from home field. Does your wife clean the house? Yeah. How much time does she spend? Probably about 6-7 hours a week cleaning the house. He goes, what else could she be doing in that time? She could be doing a million things. He's like, well, then why don't you get a cleaning lady? Can you afford it? Yeah. But my wife is particular. Well, guess what? How about you get a cleaning lady and she only does like 1 hour of tidying up around her to make sure it's good. You freed up 6 hours where she can do this, this, and this. And that's what I've learned is I want to make more money because time is the most precious commodity we have.
100%.
And what I'm learning is with the more money I make, the more time it frees me up. Like, the last 3 years I haven't been on a vacation. So we've already went on one vacation this year. And I told the wife, hey, it's going to be a small one, because we're going, but we love going to Disney. Hey, let's book another. She loves the parade and she likes to have the hot chocolate in November. I said, hey, book it. But I'm worried about money. Just book it. Don't worry, I'll get it. So we're only going to go instead of for 7 days, we're going to go for like 3 or 4. But my point is I've learned that time is, a precious commodity. And if you get up with that POL and you start, like one of the things I talk about with time is, everybody says, don't hit the snooze button. Don't hit the snooze button. Well, what I do is I buy this regular watch here that's super expensive and I set it 15 minutes early. Because
my alarm clocks, everything at work, everything is 10, 15 minutes early.
Because here's the thing. I don't like phone. I can't change the time on this. I don't like anything controlling what I do. So this is my motto with everything. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, it's mission failure. And I've learned to apply that to everything that I do. Just like today, I was on 10 minutes early, ready to go. I cannot stand when people show up. Like if I would have came on it right at 9 o'clock, if we wouldn't have had a little time, like plan your dive your plan, go over things, then that's disrespectful to you and your time versus, hey, why don't I just get up a little early, make sure that he got all the information, like last night, hey, I sent you the bio, I sent you the pictures, it's all done. Now it went to junk mail, but I was like, okay, I know I sent it, but because I was up last night at 1 o'clock going, wait a minute, I sent this to him. And then obviously you responded. But I used to be the guy before the SEAL teams that would show up at 9 o'clock. We don't get going until 9:10. I'm already behind. Then what happens? Well, as an entrepreneur, this is the biggest thing I've learned. You are being evaluated and graded with everything you do, and you're being observed. So remember I said, do as I say, do as I do. If I start showing up to work right at 9 o'clock, right, hair looking like shit, like looking like I just walked out of bed, what do you think that's going to do? That's going to cause
acceptable for all your employees.
It's not acceptable. Perfect example. During the workday, I wear a collared short sleeve shirt. I've got a pair of shorts on. Now I didn't put my shoes on because my wife doesn't let me wear shoes in the house, but that's what I wear. So I set the standard, hair is combed, brush my teeth, make my bed, have my coffee, do my morning ritual. And then I tell people now with these POLs, and here's the thing, entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur and you're an ambassador to life, to yourself. Is now we have more time. The pandemic has actually given us more time. We don't have to travel. We don't have to do this, the commute. So now we have these bigger blocks of time. So what do people do? They spend more time on this, on social media. Average person in the workday spends over 1.5 hours on social media platforms.
Yeah.
Now, if that's their job to create leads, that's great. But if it's not, that's 1.5 hours that they're not. You can't trust them. Their effort's gone. Their attitude is piss poor, and they're off the mission. So what I tell people is when I coach people for 21 days, I make people, they have to be my coaching clients for 30 days. That's the deal. If not, I won't accept them. Is for the first 21 days, you have to write down, and you can do it on your phone, on your notes. From the time you get up to the time you go to bed, I want to know what you eat, what time you eat, how you feel about things. and people get like, I went to the bathroom. I don't need to know about that. But if you're sitting on the bathroom for 2 hours a day reading, we got to literally trim the fat. I want to know when you're on social media, when you're I'll give you an example. My coaching clients, first thing I make them do you listen to the radio when you get in the car? Yes. How long is your commute? 45 minutes. I want you to download these books and read them. Audio. Kill two birds with one stone. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're a sponge, man. Absorb that knowledge.
Always learning, buddy. The day you die is the day you stop learning.
And then a sponge can only take so much. It can only absorb so much. But once it's full, most CEOs, they're selfish. They're not selfless. They wring that out into a glass for them. No, man, I got 6 employees. I'm going to wring it out on each one of them. Here, guys, learn this. Then I'm going to set the sponge back down. Let's reabsorb, So like I've got some books behind me. Right now I'm reading, Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I'm reading that book right now. So, I try not to read a lot of SEAL books because I know a lot of the guys, but Man Up by Beatrice Coolian. I've got all kinds of books, Good to Great, all these books about not just being a better entrepreneur, but just how to be a better person. I think once you dial in yourself, you can be a better entrepreneur, whatever it is you want.
I think, Ray, that's the importance of reading is you always take something out of it. And whether you read one paragraph and that sticks in your mind for the next 10, 15 years, it's invaluable how important that stuff is.
Yeah. And I think, like I tell people now is as an entrepreneur, as a CEO, as an empire builder, it's up to you, even though your team should be doing it, to create the atmosphere that you want for your company and for your vision and your mission. Meaning, I could get on here and go, oh my God, we're not making money. We're doing this, we're doing that. But guess what I've done? I haven't cut my employees' salary one bit. I didn't cut them 20% because that's industry standard right now. Everybody's cutting their 20%. I haven't asked for, I haven't asked for relief because what I've heard from a lot of business owners is it's taking forever. All I've done was been like, listen, guys, here's the deal. If you want me to continue to pay you your salary, I need help. Like, I think the best way to be a leader and an entrepreneur is to show people that you are vulnerable too, but you have a cool like, listen, guys, I'm only one mind here. I'm only 2 sets of eyes, 2 ears, 1 mouth, and 1 mind. We've got 6 people here. If you have a great idea that can benefit not just you, but this company, by all means, lay it out on the table. And as a CEO, as an entrepreneur, I listen. Like, we have a separate meeting, like on Friday, because Friday is when I want the ideas. Guys, if you haven't, let's schedule a time. And I'll even ask them, I want everybody to hear this idea. And we keep it to about, 5 minutes. Because the thing is, I can tell you my life story in 5 minutes.
Can I dive into it?
Yeah.
We try to have our meetings here on Mondays because I find people are fresh from the weekend. Family time. Why do you have Fridays? What particular?
Well, here I do a Friday, do a Monday and a Friday meeting.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So what I do is coming out of the gate, I want to tell everybody what the mission is. On the Friday meeting, I tell people what worked and what didn't very quickly. And if you have any ideas of how we can attack next week or how we can create value,
so it's like a review of the week and what could be corrected from it.
It's an AAR, an after action.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then what I ask people to do is just say, listen, here's what we're going to do. This is what's going to happen Monday. We're going to check in Monday and say, hey, listen, nothing has shifted because Saturday and Sunday, the reason why I do that is the economy can take a hit. New rules and regulations can come out. So literally all I tell people on Monday is, listen, guys, you know what the plan of attack is. We planned our dive. Now let's dive our plan. And then at Friday, hey, guys, tell me what worked, what didn't work. And then what I like to hear people do is tell me how much money. Hey, we got 3 sales. We got this. We got that. Okay. Now that we know this is working, hey, John, can you help Brenda, shift some fire with that? Roger that, boss, because the thing is the mission is right now, guys, is, we've got to tread water and survive. Am I making money right now? I'm still ahead, but I'm not where I was, because I usually do hands-on, things where we're charging $20 plus some $1,000. So I've taken a huge cut. Now we're doing $5,000 and $6,000 virtual things. Now, it's still keeping the lights on. It's still paying people's bills. And people see that I am sacrificing. I tell people, listen, I'm willing to pay you in sacrifice, but now more so than ever, I want you guys dressed. I want you ready to go. I will text somebody, and nothing will piss me off more than if I text one of my employees and it takes them an hour to get back to me. Even if they're on a business call, all they got to do is I said, just send me a thumbs up. That lets me know you heard it and I know you're busy, because they're working. I don't expect them to drop, but acknowledge me. That's what's so amazing about this thing. Like, my boss has hit me 3 times and I just said, hey, I'm doing a podcast. Hit me up when you're done. Roger that. It's that simple, because I have a boss too, for a different part of my life. And then I run my own personal company, but I expect that in return, just like he does. If I waited an hour, I'm going to get when I get a question mark or I give a question mark, that's not good. It means, why are you not answering? Right? Just like if your wife hits you up, nothing, it's the same thing, right? We talked about the same values. If I don't respond to my wife in an hour, she's going to write, are you alive?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's dip into how many years you've been married for?
Going on 15 in July.
I'm going on to 17 this year. How old are your children?
Well, one's 26. I adopted him from a previous marriage, and then I have a daughter who'll be 12 in August. But we have been together for 17 years, which is funny. We dated for 2 years prior.
That's very, very cool. So Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
Let's get quickly back into that. How many years were you in the Navy SEALs? How many tours?
I did 4 tours. I was in the Navy for 12 years, 8 years as a Navy, 8 years and change as a Navy SEAL.
Thank you for your services, first off.
Appreciate it. Thanks. And yep.
No, go continue.
But no, I served my country. And then I was looking for, when I was getting out was when the war was just kicking off, and I was looking for a fight, because I'm not like a Rambo guy, but they put all this money and time and effort into you, and I wasn't seeing it. And I decided I would switch over and try my hand at, some government work. And I did that for 14 years, and I was very successful at that.
In that 14 years, when did you end that right there with the government work? When did you start on your own? How many years ago was that?
Started in 2004, and I finished last October.
Last October. One thing about Ray is he's been dipping his toes into the acting world, so we're going to get a little into that. Let's talk about that. You were in a big Hollywood production with Tom Hanks. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I was in Captain Phillips. I was actually the guy that rescued Tom at the end.
You realize I got to go back now and watch that just to see you in there.
I'm in it. So I'll tell you the scenes. I'm in it where the SEALs are jocking up on their wetsuits, because I'm the jack guy with a bunch of tattoos. The bad guy, when they take him from the vessel, the transport boat that they're in to Rib, that's me. And at the end, I'm the one that asks Tom, are you okay? Are you okay? And I grab him and I walk him to the medical room at the very end, where the doc cuts his stuff off and talks to him. But funny thing is, when I first did that movie, I only got picked as an extra. I met Dana Bernetti, who was the executive producer, him and Kevin Spacey, on set. And we had a lot in common. We both had Range Rovers. I'm into like old vehicles. He had a 69, like numbers matching Mach 1, and I had like an old 70 Bronco. I didn't even know who he was. We talked for about 20, 30 minutes while everybody was around looking for Spacey and everybody. I was reading a book on old stroke Broncos. And we just started talking, and about 20 minutes later, he goes, hey, I really like your aura. I want you to do something for me. And I was like, what? And I knew he was like important, because he had like the $80,000 Rolex watch on and the Ray-Bans, but I didn't know who he was. And he said, I want you to go down to wardrobe and tell him to put on your little SEAL outfit. And I was like, what did you say to me? I'm one of the real SEALs, because we had some actors too. And he was like, oh, I didn't mean it that way. He goes, just go down and tell him to put it on. I'm going to try something. And I was like, and you are? And he's like, well, I'm Dana. Okay, Dana Bernetti. I don't get it. He goes, Kevin Spacey and I are the executive producers of this movie and all these other things. My brother owns part of Fox. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, man. I had no clue who he was. And I think he liked that. I went down, put the uniform on, came back, and this is how I got the part. He goes, I really like just, I'm not, Tom's taller than me. He didn't want a real big actor, but he said, you're really wide. You got the tattoos. I want to try something. And I was like, well, what do you want to try? He goes, well, come here. I said, okay. And I swear to God, Tom Hanks is always eating. He eats, I call him tapeworm. And he's got the crowd of people around him. And Dana walks and everybody gets out of the way. And he goes, Tom, I want you to meet Ray. And he goes, hi, I'm Tom Hanks. And I went, no effing shit. I'm Ray. And we did this scene where they said, we just want to try something. And I said, okay. So they put these 2 cameras in her face, and I'm this close to Tom. Like, I'd known him for 10 minutes. And they go, okay, what would you do in the scene? And I start telling Tom, I would do this, this, this. And Tom is just cool as can be. He goes, stop. Do what you'll do. I'll lead off you. You lead, I'll follow. And I went, okay. So we do this scene, right? The cameras are rolling. It doesn't count. And I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I sweep his limbs, checking for injuries. Goes on for a second. Obviously, I had more lines. They cut him out and cut. So I stand there and they're like, okay, give us a second. So like him, Paul Greengrass, kept like the actors, get around each other. And for a couple seconds, they're like talking and looking at me, I'm like, oh my God, I'm gone. And like, I'm sitting there, we're on a boat, like offshore. I'm texting my wife, telling her what goes on. She's like, shut up, no. And they come back. Dana gives me a thumbs up and this guy takes me and goes, hey, you've got a role with Tom. We got to get you in for SAG. And I'm like, what's going on here? And like my whole contract changed right there. And I was like, they're like, now you're going to make all this money. And I was like, oh, really? Because I thought it was just really effing cool that I could just get to work out with Tom. But Tom came to my house. He met the family a couple times, Max Martini. We're great friends to this day. It was done really well. And
in one of those moments, being at the right spot at the right time.
Yeah. But my point to this was, I think it was, we talked about the effort and attitude, because that's like, I've learned that as an entrepreneur and then everything in my life, I'm not the best at anything I do, but I give you my best effort and I have a great attitude. Just like when Bedros Keuilian hired me. He said like 40 other SEALs applied for the same job. There were guys that were bigger, faster, stronger. But like I showed up an hour early to the interview. And this is how I do it. This is what I told Bedros Keuilian. 7 companies, one's worth $100 million. Let me tell you why you need me on your team. And he went, oh, this ought to be rich. And literally, that was our interview. And I told him, here are my non-negotiables. This is what I will not budge on. And I said, and I am worth. And he goes, what do you think you're worth? And Lily, he goes, do me a favor. Write down what you think your salary is worth for a year. And he wrote it down and we switched them. He actually thought I was worth $40,000 more. And he goes, I said, are you going to give me that? He goes, no. I'll give you half of that, which I made a $20,000 thing. But he goes, but here's a lesson that you need to understand. Because this is when I took the entrepreneur leap of faith. He goes, let me tell you this, because if you ever do this again, I'll fire you. Don't you ever underestimate your worth again. He said, you should have put $1 million on there. And that was one of the biggest entrepreneur lessons that I've learned from probably one of the greatest entrepreneurs on the planet is I sold myself short. He goes, what did you think you're worth? And I said, I think I'm worth $500,000. He goes, well, I'm not going to give you $500,000, but you're worth that right now. But right now you haven't established your base to do that. But eventually you'll be making that. So I gave him a big number and he goes, is this what you really think you're worth? And I said, well, he goes, you never say well or but or second doubt yourself. He goes, I'm a shark and I'll eat you alive. And he goes, and he liked me, but he goes, that's why I'm going to hire you because you're humble. Because he told me, are you hungry? And I said, no, sir, I'm effing starving. Like, so I'm always, he goes, hey, you're an hour early to your meeting. I know, and that's what I think sold him. But I believe if you're early, you're on time. Imagine if I would have just showed up. Imagine if I would have just showed up here a minute early. That shows lack of what? Respect, lack of discipline, lack of desire, lack of drive. I'm like, and he was like, hey, this is a casual thing. And I wore a collared shirt and jeans and nice shoes and just said, hey, and that's, I think, the role that entrepreneurs, I know this is an entrepreneur podcast, need to take. And Bedros told me as I circle this all around, he said, I will hire someone for effort and attitude over skill set any day of the week. He goes, I can't teach you how to be a Navy SEAL. He goes, I can't teach you how to be a great person. I can't teach you how to have a great presence, but I can teach you how to make money and how to do what I want done. And like I said, yesterday I closed an $8,000 deal. I'm on my third podcast, and today's Wednesday. I'm generating more than some of his top guys right now because like I said, I'm starving. And that's the kind of people that
You want around you.
I want around me.
100%.
And he told me, he said, if I ever fire you, it's because you have let me down so much that literally, he goes, you would probably just fire yourself. You would quit. And I'm like, you're right. So, and there's, people always say you're an overachiever, you're a perfectionist. I don't believe that there's perfection, but progression, work in progress. That's not a bad thing. If you're going to be an overachiever, I'd rather be that than an underachiever, as an entrepreneur. I'm starving. People are like, you don't look like you're starving. I am mentally, emotionally, physically, socially starving for more knowledge, more power.
Knowledge. Yeah.
And they say money's the root of all evil. Let me tell you what, hey, this is an entrepreneur podcast, right? We're all businessmen. Listen, I've been happy with making as low as $40,000 to $280,000. You know what? People are always like, money's the root of, you know what? Like I told Tom Hanks, give me the money. He's like, having a lot of money is stress. I'm like, I eat stress for breakfast. Give me that money. I'll earn that money. Hopefully I'll be 7 figures here soon. And when I do, I just know that I'm going to do so much more. The more money I make, the more I can do for communities. My wife, literally, if I made $1 million, she'll give 1,010,000 of it away. She loves doing charity work and stuff.
Let's dive into that. There's one thing I saw with your Conquer company. Mm-hmm. It was a T-shirt, and I actually jotted that down here. A T-shirt for Stefan Silver.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into that, what that means to you and what's that all about?
Well, that's just different charities that help out firefighters and first responders. I'm real big on that. We do that. I do things for the Danny Dietz Foundation, which was the Navy SEAL who died and lone survivor. I do charity runs. I do charity things. I'm getting ready to do one now. I have it right here. Let me pull this up. This was a new one. I have to pull this up as I talk to you. A gentleman asked me to do where is this kid at? His name's Logan. He's a young kid, and he reached out to me and said, here it is. Will you help me do it for Elijah's Promise Soup Kitchen? So we're raising money where I have to run 4 miles every 4 hours with a bunch of kids for 48 hours.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm going to go up to Jersey, probably get the COVID and do it. But anything that I can help, if it's helping the needy, I love first responders, anything with first responders. And first responders to me are, and I'm not putting them at the bottom, from the trash man, anybody that serves the community, I'll do things to.
Yeah, frontline servers.
Yeah, to obviously, and the near and dear one, and my wife knows, I wish I could remember the name, but it's a breast cancer. My wife's mom died of breast cancer at a pretty young age. And there's the one committee the one charity we do it for, that every board member has had or currently has breast cancer. So that's my wife's mission. So whenever I can do something, wear pink, just give back, and I'm not doing it. And I want to make this very clear. I get it. It's a tax write-off thing. We're entrepreneurs. You got to think like a businessman, but some things are more important than money. And I know
it's a social cause, right? You're doing it. It's that smile you get from that right person. Yeah.
This is the new thing that I'm doing, where they just take a picture of me and I have to, mission 4 miles every 4 hours. And, these kids are 17 years old. And I'm like, okay, I've got a 26-year-old son. I mean, if I get too tired, I'll walk, but I will complete the mission. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They find a way to complete the mission. And I try to challenge myself with things like this. Bedros Keuilian does 6-week challenges, and I do just challenges like, I'm getting ready. Oh, sorry, I wasn't giving you the finger. Sorry, I was itching. No. I may run a marathon. I'll train up for it and do it. The thing is you can train the body. If you can train the mind to do it, the body will do it.
I'm a strong believer in that. Let's dive into that. Fitness is a huge part of your life. I see through all your videos and whatnot. It's something that's always been there, even as you're growing up, or something when you got into the military, that's what kind of pushed you over to the edge?
No. This is what happened to me when I was. In 1987, I was in a car accident where one of my best friends was killed.
Oh, wow.
My girlfriend broke her back.
Sorry to hear that.
No, it happens. Like, everything happens for a reason. He died on Coon Club Road. We had to take a shortcut. Stay with me here, and it'll all tie in. He was dating a girl named Betty Gorsuch. I was dating a girl named Kirsten Owens, and we had another girl in the car named Laura Letts. His name was Chuck Ness. And he had a 1972 Volkswagen Rabbit. It was winter, and we lost control. We weren't even speeding. We just hit some ice. The car flipped a couple times. And somehow he went through the floorboard, and the car pinned on him. Kirsten was in the back. She broke her back. She couldn't move. The other two girls were hurt. I actually got ejected from the back of the car and landed right there was a pond right there. I was freezing because my shoes came off. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Stiff, Brian Stiff's father, came by. I'll never forget this. And he put the girls in the car. The one girl was busted up pretty bad, and the other one lost her eyelid came off. So she's bleeding everywhere. And Mr. Stiff said, I need you to stay here with Kirsten, and I'm coming back. So the whole time that this is happening, I literally forgot where Chuck was, and I couldn't find him. He hadn't died originally. And this is kind of a horrible story, but he was pinned under the car. So, which felt like for an eternity, I take off my jacket. I'm trying to calm her while I'm trying to lift this car off of my buddy that I can't get off of him because he was wedged underneath the car. He was Ray, and it was horrible. And I can still visualize it when I can't remember what I had for breakfast 3 days ago. And I just remember trying to pull this car off him, lift it, and I couldn't do it. And finally, Mr. Stiff came back, and he was trying to help me, and we still couldn't get the car off. And what happened was they put one ambu came, and they put me in the in the ambulance with Chuck, where they actually had to cut him open. They made me look away, and they're massaging his heart, and he died right there. And I think something in my mind triggered me that if I would have just been stronger, if I would have been more fit, which I've seen people for it, and they're like, it's nothing you can do. But in my mind is, if that situation ever happens again, then I'll be ready. Probably 5-10 years ago, a car flipped over in front of my wife and I, mother and a child in the car, broad daylight. And what do people do? They watch. They're pulling out their phones. So I run up to the car. I can't open the door. I tell the lady to cover her eyes. I take my sweater off. I punch the window because I can't get the door open. I pull her out of the car, and the whole time she is screaming, my baby. I'm like, oh my God. I'm looking. My wife is frantic. So I'm trying to get to the baby. I didn't want to break the glass where she was. So I literally crawl in the car, unbuckle her. She was conscious, but I think she was shot it was a little girl, tiny little thing. And I'm trying to pull her out of the car. I'll never forget, people were holding this mother back. It was 3 guys, and they couldn't hold her. She's trying to get to her child. And I'm like, I'm getting the baby. And, I got the baby, and I was trying to make sure that she was okay. And she was. By this time the ambu comes, I cut myself, and my wife was just and I'm not patting my back, because she's like, you're a hero. And it's no, since that happened with Chuck, I became a Navy SEAL. I'm in better shape. I want to be able to protect as many people as I can. And, I'm 48 years young, and I'm in the best shape of my life. I mean, I do 1,020 push-up challenge every Sunday till I get to 10,000. And then I add something else. We're getting ready to go to squats. It's because I don't think you can ever be your best. So I'm constantly trying to
improve yourself.
I love that. The samurai sword, I sharpen it every day. So that's why I do that. That's why I think fitness, I think the dark root of that is because I wasn't, I was only 16 at the time. I was in 10th grade. I don't know, whatever, 15, 16. And I just swore from that moment forth, I would never be that weak kid again.
Your company, Concord is your company, right?
Yes.
And that is the one that you're working with, if I'm not mistaken, we've talked about so much, with your, you have an MMA athlete and all these guys you train. Is that the same company?
No, that Conquer is just, that works under Project and LTD. So I work under Bedros Keuilian for that. Conquer is an apparel company, and where I go around pretty much motivating kids. I do a little bit of speaking. I do coaching and things like that, where people, if they want one-on-one coaching, I motivate, educate, and I call decimate them mentally, physically, emotionally, socially. But that is more of just, that's not my high dollar stuff. That's where I work with kids, and I just try to teach people. I go around the country speaking with Bedros, talking about the Conquer mindset. Each letter stands for something. That's what I do with that. The things that I do with the corporations and the project, that all falls under two companies, two umbrella companies for Bedros Keuilian, the Project and the LTD. Yeah. So that's my company where I work. I sell a lot of apparel, a lot of hats, coins. I do a lot of coaching. But then when I shift my fire and I'm working with the companies because Bedros has the backing and the contacts, and the connections.
Yeah.
So we do that. But we've kind of merged them all in together, where, I'll go speak to a company, but I'll incorporate Conquer, where, I'll pay myself out of that. That goes through the Conquer company, LLC, and all this good stuff. Yeah, you know the deal.
So why would I mention the MMA athlete? I'm not sure if you know, one of my main companies is Comoreware. Yeah. So we've been doing that for 15 years. We supply about 1,800 gyms right across North America, martial art and boxing gyms. What athlete do you guys work with?
Oh, well, he's not a professional. He's just,
he's not?
He's Aaron Alejandrino. He's just, he was an MMA fighter at the beginning. But I mean, I know a few, like I know Randy Couture. I'm friends with Randy. I know a couple of the big names. But I think he just brings that discipline, that mastery of self-discipline, because being an MMA fighter takes a lot of discipline. A lot of these guys get on here and sometimes they act crazy, but I've met a few of them in my day, and they're just, whether, the Conor McGregors and all those guys that do they're professionals, man.
100%. The discipline, the train to get ready for a fight, whether it's boxing, martial art, or whatnot, is insane.
And we have a lot in common because, like, I can talk to him, like when I talk to Randy, he's the Navy SEAL, what he does. I know Steven Seagal, he's the Navy SEAL of what he does. He actually played a Navy SEAL. All the other different fighters that I've met, they say the same thing. Dude, I love what you do, man. I love it because, we're a small knit group and we're really good at what we do. And, same thing. I ask him, as soon as when I talk to Randy and I talk to all these great guys I've met, it's like, man, I don't want to hear, Brock Lesnar, I've met these guys. Just tell me what it took to get there. And they like that because most people just want to hear how cool it is being a champion. I'm like, no, man, I want to know what it's like when you were like, your hands were bloody and you were just training. What was your thought process? And literally, I've met the Diaz brothers. They're,
interesting.
they're, once you get them to calm down and they're pretty cool, but nice guys. And they'll
triathletes. I mean, their dedication is probably top notch. People don't realize how dedicated they are and how their mind is so strong.
Yeah. Any person that is the tip of the spear, what they do, I want to know how they got there. Yeah. And usually, what mindset techniques, drills, techniques, what was their training program? What did they cut out of their POL so they could incorporate and inject more time for what they needed to do? That's the things that intrigue me because I mean, these guys.
I always say that entrepreneurs and pro athletes have a lot of common features. It's just that mindset. It's just that willingness, that drive, right? And you could easily tell you'll get 100 entrepreneurs in a room, maybe 5 are true entrepreneurs and will succeed over the next 5 years. And then the same thing with an athlete. You might get 1,000 kids that go to a college and play a professional sport. How many of those actually, that 1.5% that actually turn to the pros, is that entrepreneurial mindset of that drive. You can't teach that, almost that willingness that they might not even knew they had, but it was born with them. Just like you yourself, right? You had moments in your life where you hit that V in the road and you chose the right path.
Yeah.
Is it luck? No, it was you, and it was the right time to take that path.
Yeah, I want to know, what made them who they are. That's what I want to know. And
I love that. Yeah.
And they all say the same thing. Because here's the thing. People always say failure isn't an option. I don't agree. I fail every day. Failure is an option. Quitting isn't an option to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I fail, but I fail forward. I fail hard and I fail fast, but I get back up real fast too. I was told if you're not failing on a daily basis, then you're not pushing yourself. I mean, don't get me wrong. You want to stack the W's, the wins. Yeah. But I also have, the L's too, man. I lost that battle, but I didn't die. I got injured. Okay. How do you regroup from it? I use the same techniques in the SEAL teams, AAR, right? I come up with a plan of attack. I plan my dive by plan. And then after that, I want to be critical of myself of how I can be better. And I just do that every week, every day, every minute, every second, that's how I and how entrepreneurs are going to achieve, the best version of them. Like I said, I don't believe in 21-90 lifestyle habit. I believe in repetition. I believe in getting up, being the first one on the battlefield, the last one off the battlefield every day. Because no matter who you are, Jeff, someone somewhere is hungrier than you. And my goal in life,
always. There's been moments where I'm up at 1, 2 in the morning working. My wife comes down and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This is going to make the difference when I succeed and that other person I'm competing with doesn't." It's just that drive. You have to have it. I've had it myself my whole life, whether you play sports or not, but it's that drive and that competitiveness, and always having that mindset where the moment you're resting, somebody else could be getting ahead of you.
I agree 1000%. I want to be the hungriest person in that room.
I love that.
Doesn't mean I'm going to be the best.
No, of course not.
But people know that guy, like, if you get in a fight with me, whatever kind of fight that is, I'm coming. You're going to know I was there. Mental, physical, emotional, social, spiritual, my 4 F-bombs. Like, I'm coming to battle.
I was having a conversation. One thing about me too is I coach a traveling a baseball team. I coach a local baseball team, kids, 12-year-olds.
Yep.
And we're not the top tier. There's A, double A, triple A. We're a triple A team. We're a tier 3 team. And I always tell these kids, I go, you guys are 11, 12 now. I go, the most talented athletes at 11, 12 are the ones that make the tier 1 team. They're the most picked. I go, over the next 2 years, the hardest working athletes are the ones that are going to surpass the athletes over when you turn 14, 15. So the hard work is you guys put in, and the dedication and willingness to do it is what's going to surpass you from those top athletes over the next few years.
Yeah, I agree. It is. It's the time that you put in now, the real time, like I have clients that I coach for workouts and stuff. And I'm like, how much time can you give me in the gym? And they're like, an hour. That doesn't mean an hour. It means about 35, 40 minutes. Oh, you mean I can't shower? You were not talking drive time. I'm like, no, I mean, how much time can you give me to no cell phone on, no nothing? I don't even want you listening to music. Just how much time can you give me? And it's amazing when they do that, how little time they can actually give, because they factor everything else in. I want the rawness. I want, not even warm up time. I want from the minute we touch whatever we're going to do to the time we stop, how much time can you give me? Average people are like 20, 25 minutes. I'm like, great. This is what we're going to do today. And I crush them. Like today, I'm going to spend 30 minutes, 17 after I'm done my workout for 30 minutes. I'm just squatting 17 reps every time for 30 minutes. Just like I do with my push-ups every Sunday. I do that for 60 minutes. That's 1,020. So I'm going to do a 510 squats today. Why not?
That's awesome.
I'm focusing when I'm doing the same thing over and over and over again, focusing on my form, focusing on the reps, focusing on my technique. That's how you're going to be a great entrepreneur, is repetition, just doing it over and over again, and learning from your mistakes. That's the biggest advice I could tell any aspiring entrepreneur or even a seasoned entrepreneur is learn from your mistakes. Take the self-criticism and learn from it. Because if you don't, that's so much knowledge that you're just wasting, like I said, I love it. Like whenever I do something, I never want to hear what I did right. I want to hear what I did wrong. Like, especially like for someone Bedros, like, hey, like whenever I speak, give me tips, give me 3 things I can do better. I don't need 20 because that's just insulting. Give me 3 your top things, or your 2 top things that I can improve on, better eye contact, slow down when you're talking, work on your dramatic pauses. Yes, sir. Thank you. You're not mad, are you? No, I'm not mad. I just got like $50,000 worth of advice for free. I'm glad. Thank you. Can I buy you lunch? That's the mindset and the approach you have to take on things.
Always. I 100% agree. This has been an amazing conversation with you, Ray. I truly, truly appreciate this. We could probably go on forever here. I'm probably going to be calling you back to get you back on pretty soon again. I love this. This is awesome. And what I like with our podcast, and I try to get to know the person, I think we got to know you. We got some amazing understanding of who you are, from what brought you here. So I love everything we had today. So I want to once again say thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to come on.
Thank you.
We're obviously, this is global, but we're based out of Canada. So it's nice to have. First off, have you ever been to Canada?
Yes, I used to work in Nanaimo, Canada, on the west side.
Okay.
So below British
BC.
British Columbia, BC.
Yeah.
I used to be stationed in Seattle, and we used to drive up to, or we take the boat.
Which is like an hour drive up.
Yep. And I used to work out in Nanaimo, Canada, and I used to stay right around there. Beautiful, beautiful country. Beautiful.
Yeah, very, very cool. I just want to say once again, thank you for coming on. Amazing everything you're doing. Keep it up. Inspiration to a lot of people. And obviously, you know your stuff, buddy. You're amazing at what you do. So once again, thank you. Anything you want to say before you head off?
No, yeah, just guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, you can hit me up on Instagram at RayCashCare. I like DMs, and I answer every DM that I have. That's at RayCashCare, or that little verified. I have tons of Facebook pages, but at RayCashCare, former Navy SEAL. It has a blue check, and it's a picture of me, so you know it's verified. But if you have any questions, comments, concerns about entrepreneurial lifestyle or business, or just want some coaching, hit me up. So thank you, sir. We're
going to put on the show notes all of Ray's contact information, websites, everything you need to know to get a hold of Ray if you want to. And I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in getting a hold of you. So once again, thank you, buddy.